guys, welcome to the 20th episode of the Gutter Nerds podcast. Because we're doing this later, I think it's like 28.
The
27 or 20. I think it's 28. My name is Steven. Jesus.
Okay, we're going to remove all the liquor from the table now.
You know, I could go back and redo it.
You haven't been drinking, have
I
you?
had a little bit of green Hawaiian.
It's blue Hawaiian now.
It's great.
Is it more blue? Did you blue it?
No, I tried to blue it, but I tried to blue it yesterday. Now, with all of the pineapple pulp have been settled, and now it's actually mixed in, it's blue again.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yay.
It's the Hawaiian.
But joining me today is Chuck, Byronic Commando, as always.
Hello.
Lauren.
Hey, guys.
And Caleb from Red Six Golden Corral.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good.
We were just on a recording with you, and the last time we had you was on the E3 coverage that we did for EA.
Which was fucking hilarious, by the way.
Yeah,
That was an interesting. I just get more and more drunk as Nick just melts more and more into that sofa. Like,
how, like when you went, I don't know if you went back and watch it, but
I did.
you did. Did you have any moments of like, oh, I totally forgot that?
Oh yeah. After second 3.
He was drunk, remember?
After your Adam West joke, it was just, woof.
Yeah. It didn't start hot, but it went down.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to start, as always, with what you've been playing. Chuck, what you been playing?
Not a goddamn thing this week because I've been in preparation for this. I started Walking Dead Season 2 a couple of days ago.
That sounds like a goddamn thing to me.
Yeah? I mean, I guess, but like in terms of games to play on my own...
Not really at all. So you streamed a bit of
I streamed Walking Dead
right?
Season 2, and then our Trials Fusion stream became a GTA 5 stream.
Right. Thank you, Ubisoft, for that, by the way.
Yeah, this is what happens when you let a game go free, and then you decide to play it the first weekend. Just...
Yeah, but we did get some gun running in, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, my God, that was fun. That felt like Heist Part 2. It really did feel like a sequel to me.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Now, if only Sam had actually been playing, right?
Yeah, we need the... Yeah, so like in the... when we were doing it, like I mentioned earlier, we were much more efficient than we were. We did it real fast, but it was way less funny without Sam, for sure.
Yeah.
It's always less funny without Sam.
What have you been playing, Lauren?
Lately, I've been playing Sims 4 because I've had shit tons to do.
Of school?
No, research for movies.
Oh, awesome! You're researching movies.
Because somebody gave me a job.
Well, it's sweet. That's true. I gave you a task.
And then I've been... So since I first saw the release, I've been wanting to play We Happy Few.
Yeah.
So now that there's more info on it, I've been reading all the articles on it.
Did you read the one that we posted the other day? Did you read that, Chuck?
No,
It's
I
on
didn't.
all
Okay, so
platforms now.
what happened was We Happy Few was started by like 7 guys, like 7 dudes in an independent setting, and they were making sort of a roguelike, which was story light, open world, kind of just it generates as you go as survival situations. But when they showed it at E3 and put it up at PAX, people were way more interested in the story. They're like, oh my God, this world's going to be great. And so they went, fuck, we need a goddamn story. And so like they got some backers. They went to Kickstarter. They quadrupled their size to like not a AAA style, like a size of studio, but in that direction to make it more of what people thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty interesting way to make a game, if you ask me.
I am so stupid excited. Like, Last of Us Part 2 is coming eventually.
You got several things that you're looking forward to.
I just want everything
State
so
of Decay.
What about you, Caleb? You been playing anything lately?
Yeah, it's a really graphical intensive game called Speedrunners.
Oh, yeah.
I heard you guys mention this.
Yeah.
Well, and you talked about it a little bit on your podcast, your couch co-op, or as you say, coach co-op.
Coach. It's a coach.
Coach
please.
co-op. Okay.
It's a coach co-op.
Right.
Or
Coach
Chesterfield,
co-op, for sure.
if you will.
What's the game like?
So it is up to 4 people. It's actually always 4, but sometimes there's bots filling in the other roles.
Okay.
And it is just a single track, and you 4 are racing to basically touch the edge of the screen. So if you touch the back edge of the screen, you die. And if you touch the forward edge of the screen, you kind of force the back edge of the screen along faster.
Oh, interesting.
So
if you play by yourself, you're running against 3 bots?
right.
Okay. Is it
And-
running against or running with or both?
Against. Like,
Running
there's
against.
not with. Like, the track is infinite.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is last man standing.
Yeah. But
Oh,
what
wow.
happens is after a while, if you've done the track like a full lap without anyone dying, the screen will start to shrink.
Oh wow.
And so we've gotten to play in like about a 3-inch by 4-inch square on like a 60-inch television.
Oh.
It's a pretty crazy environment when
That's
you
pretty
get
awesome.
it that
I
that
love it.
condensed. It's pretty cool.
Well, the topic today, we're going to keep it brief because we had a Disney challenge earlier, but
Brief.
I wanted to... brief as Chuckle allow it to be.
Hang on, let me let some of my hot air out before we actually do this.
High pitched noises. Just like that. That's perfect.
that was good. I ever say. I want to ask you guys about podcasting in general, and us being up here at the podcast meetup that Caleb has thrown out for the second year in a row. Which, fucking round of applause
Yes,
for you, man.
thank you.
Son of a
Thanks
bitch.
everyone for coming.
How do you
Green, blue,
find
Hawaiian.
how do you find the balls to put something like this together?
Because there's no way in the world I could afford a con.
Oh, you make your own.
So you do a barbecue. you
This
know?
is the con.
I love it. That's awesome.
Didn't PAX start like this essentially?
You know, I would
them
love
going over
to,
their house?
I'd love to know how they started because they do feel like a very grassrootsy kind of.
Well, they were for a
Yeah.
while, and then all of a sudden they just exploded like a
Right.
fucking atom bomb. Now they got what, 4 of them? PAX Prime,
Yeah.
PAX
There's
South,
like
PAX
4 or
East, and then
5.
PAX Australia.
Australia,
Yeah, there's a shitload of them.
Yeah, I would love to research that a little more and just really hear the story of how that all coalesced. Because
They also had a really popular webcomic for years and years.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they said, hey, we're going to put up a con, how many people are interested in it? Everybody's interested. Like, oh, well, shit, okay.
So I've talked to you a little bit about like your backstory before on previous podcasts and how you guys started and stuff, but I guess in general, like why do you podcast? Even you guys that are on this one, like I want to know for you, aside from the fact that like I fucking asked you to, like
I like
You didn't ask me.
why do you do?
If anything,
That's
I asked
true.
you.
That's true. That is how that began.
the Chuck and Steve-O relationship.
Why do you?
The relationship between Tony Blair and George W.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
For me, there was a bunch of great podcasts that I had got into as like a community and just as a listener. And
You were an avid listener.
I was an avid
first.
listener, and I, kind of was part of their communities on Twitter. And then they kind of dropped off, and I really wanted that to fill that void again, And the Twitter community stayed, but I was really interested in that getting together and having that conversation. So I approached some buddies of mine who I thought would really help me out there, and they both were right on board right away. So
You started it not because you felt like necessarily that you just had a specific voice or the topic that you wanted to hit. You just love the community.
I loved the community, yeah, and I wanted
That's interesting.
it again, yeah.
I can't like. We sort of started ours kind of in a vacuum, just mentally speaking. Like we were dumb. No, I mean, we didn't have like a community. We didn't have anybody like pushing us to do it. We just like sort of we're just gonna fucking do it.
We enjoy talking about video games so much, and then when we do it, we're always this lovely combination of entertaining and enlightening. Like there's always something
That's the
interesting
aim,
going
anyway.
on. Yeah, that's. I try to balance out the entertaining with the enlightening, and I know I'm the boring one, but still. But that's why I got into it. It's like, you know what? I have never been able to talk about video games as much as I've always wanted to.
Yeah.
And then I found out about podcasts, and that was back during our KTCU days, during Technocentro. That was like 10 years ago.
So why do you do it?
I do it
Like
because
what do you get out of it?
What do I get the ability to talk about video games with my friends.
Okay, so for you, it's a topic specific thing.
It is. I mean, I'm usually the one that comes up with the more like heady philosophical topics, as opposed to the fun topics.
Those are the dumb ones.
No, he comes up with the fun ones. I come up with the boring ones.
So what about you, Lauren? Why do you podcast? Like what?
Because you have a sexy ass
What was
voice.
the-
Is that why?
No, it's obviously not that. Just the friends. Like, we met Red 6. Like, I love hanging out with you guys. And obviously, lately, I haven't been on. So, like, I feel like I'm getting close to you guys again. And, obviously, we used to karaoke every week. And so now that we don't, like, the podcast is something that we all can look forward to and see each other and like even spouses and stuff, like everybody's coming in and everybody's like, oh my God, it's been like 4 weeks since I've seen you. And it's really weird for us because we used to be so close and tight knit. And so now it's more like, hey, we're buddies. Like, let's do the thing that we love to do. And so video games bring us all together. And it's really awesome how that works.
So keeps us from growing up, too.
You get the community then aspect, sounds like.
More of the internal than the external. Like, I love meeting, like, Game Guy, and, you know, obviously we're getting close to June and things like that. And so it's really nice to be, like, inverted and extroverted.
Introverted and extroverted.
Yeah.
There is a wall there that a lot of people are okay with because that allows them a lot more free communication. Like, a lot of people get so freaked out about having the cameras that they're like, oh my God, I got a camera. I'm so freaked. Like, do I look right? Do I sound right? I'm scared to death.
And we don't give a shit. throw the fuckers on.
I'm
barely
always
give
like,
a shit.
Steven, fix the fucking lighting. He's like, you know.
Fix the fucking lighting. With what?
Good enough. We got a certain amount of options at our disposal. So what's for you guys and at Red 6, you produce Caleb. You don't host.
No, I am definitely
Why
not
not?
the host. I wouldn't be.
Nothing
as good.
against Nick.
Yeah.
Like, Nick's fantastic. I just want to know personally, like,
Yeah, I think going in, I knew, like, that's why I wanted Nick on my podcast.
okay.
I knew he was great at steering a conversation, and he also has the presence to kind of pick a conversation up when it lulls. Also has got a great presence of mind of knowing when a lull is a lull.
Okay.
That in itself can be a challenge. So I knew immediately I wanted him on my podcast, and I wanted him to do those things. So I never got good at them. And I tried to do a little bit of hosting on a recent episode where we had a guest on from Nashville.
I was going to ask if you had ever had to host in Nick's absence or anything.
So that was one where I did that, and it just recently came out. You can tell, like, Nick is just bailing me out. You know, he's like, okay, I'm going to come in with a question here because you just
Here's
asked
the
the
shovel.
same question 3 times.
So was that the biggest challenge for you, like, recently?
Yes.
Like, having to host in that capacity?
For sure. We've gotten very carved in our kind of roles and responsibilities.
Set in your old man ways.
Yeah. To swap those out was a real interesting dilemma that I did not think would be as difficult as it was. I just ended up falling into those ruts, and, you know, he luckily fell into his, which was hosting. Right. So he ends up doing a good job of taking over. And
do you feel like you're funnier as the secondary?
Oh, I think so. I think that I've always kind of had that kind of second banana attitude.
Okay.
And I've really enjoy what I can bring as that kind of character to a podcast. I don't think of myself as that lead man, but someone who can either pin the lead man down or play off the lead man. And, you know, every chance I get, I try to throw a curveball at Nick. So
Yeah, for sure. It's way easier to trip someone up than to drive the car.
Exactly.
What about you guys? Like, being on the podcast, Chuck and Lauren, as long as you have, Chuck being 5+ years on the Angry Cuddles and then Gunner's podcast, and then Lauren more recently having gone from webcomic artist to podcast presence. What's the most challenging aspect for you guys, either on the podcast? Is it like, you know, what's the biggest challenge?
Talking over Chuck. I'm just kidding.
No,
I love you, Chuck.
But our to be fair, our personalities are like,
we have powerful personalities.
you got to fight your way in.
Absolutely, because we have so many different personalities. Like, obviously, Chuck's Chuck. You have your thing, and then, like, Calvin has his, Shark has hers, and I have mine, and Jonathan has his. And so, like, all of us in the same room would be too much.
That is
But just,
chaos.
Like, it's so much chaos. Like, even here, I'm like, you know, I thought it was going to be stressful, but it's really not.
God.
And so it's just great, like, because we all have our own quirks, and we're still friends about it.
Right.
And so, like, sometimes you and Chuck will get into it, and I'm like, guys, like, focus on the question at hand.
I'm just easily instigated, is what it is.
Yes.
Caleb, do you find that to be the case?
No, I don't. Yes.
Chuck, what was the most challenging thing for you then? When we podcast,
It's trying to find that good mix in all of the various personalities that we bring to the show. Because yes, we do bring something different personality-wise to the show, and as a result, it is responsibility of us ourselves to like try to make that work with everybody else, and it's also the responsibility of everybody else on the podcast to try to make that work with that one person. So there's this really interesting dance that goes back and forth. Like if you try to get all 4 or all 5 or all 6, you get this really weird harmony that sounds amazing when you get it right, but it's so difficult to do because it's so delicate.
it's very rare that we do more than 4. It's very
Yes,
rare.
there is a good reason for that.
That's
You know,
the
you guys
reason
do
right there.
2, and you did 3 for a while.
Yeah.
Or I guess you did 3 almost
John Hammock?
entirely until pour one out for John Hammock. But the being able to, my biggest challenge, like sort of on a daily basis, steering the conversation is pretty easy, but getting everyone involved and being, so it's almost like having to EQ personalities.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. That
And-
moderator style.
When there's 2 or even 3, actually in 3 you probably do have to do it with 3, but with 2 that's not really an issue. Like one of you is talking
Right. Yeah.
back and forth, right?
It's not really an issue in 2 and 3. It's not so much of an issue. It's pretty small because one person's going to take kind of a tertiary role in where the conversations between 2 people, and it's that third person to agree or disagree, or they become a steer of the topic, not necessarily the personalities.
Right.
It really does start happening at 4, I feel. We've had some podcasts where we had 5 people on, and that's where you really know you got to luckily those were guest ones. So getting those
Most people
guests
defer
on-
to the guests.
Right. That's a
At
little
that point,
easier
right?
than trying to get 5 main hosts.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's, it is as much, I feel like, the responsibility of people to make themselves heard as it is for the host to be like, okay, let's bring in some more people, and, bringing Calvin out. And I've known, in the last few weeks, Calvin has really made his presence known a lot more.
Yes, he has.
Would you say that's the case?
Like Calvin has come into his own as a host on our show. He has figured out A, what people like about him, and then B, how to play that off of everybody else.
He should tell us what people like about him. Calling you out. Where's the guy? Calling you out,
his
Cal.
purple
Just
shirt.
letting you know.
No, it's the donut shirt.
The funny thing, he doesn't wear purple.
I know.
Like, it's rare now that he wears purple, so now he's not purple guy. But like, just being on the MOBA game podcast itself, like at the end of the podcast, I was like, wow, Calvin's really got his shit together.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
yeah,
that one
I mean, that's what happens when you talk to people about what they're passionate about. Is you see this part of them that you almost didn't expect them to have, and they light up. They become so enthralled in it, and they have so much information, and the fact that you're talking to them about it, they are super excited, and they don't ever want to stop. And I think that is the real reason why I got into podcasting, is because I've always been this excited about video games, and now I have other people I can talk it to, and I'm just like, I'm so excited. I'm like a dog at a party. It's like, people, please drop me more food.
And now we're screwed because we're never going to get him to stop.
Not ever. That's why I started. That's why I started streaming. It's because I had to get it out somewhere else other than the show. Otherwise, it's just going to be drinking from a fire hose.
Once a week's not good enough. Steve.
No, not ever.
Good enough.
I have considered the possibility of doing like a morning, once a week gaming news roundup, sort of like in a news style kind of show.
Weekend update kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
In the morning.
In the morning.
Just like one of like a 15-minute guy or something. That's cool.
Like a brief little like Twitch spot, and then up to YouTube it goes.
My ass
but-
is up at like 6 o'clock every morning now, so
Mine is too, but that's because I haven't fucking slept yet.
I'll go to bed at 4 o'clock, but I won't wake up at 4 o'clock.
So if Red 6, God forbid, something happened to Red 6, you got sued or you couldn't use a name anymore, what would you do?
We'll probably rebrand as Gutter Nerds.
Good brand. Solid name.
No.
Would you do? Just set up another
You're the
podcast?
master to our doctor.
Yeah, we've talked about it, and I think our goal would to be focus on the Red 6 part to get it to the point where it's no longer something that could be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Use it as generic as possible, and then Golden Corral would be dropped because I just don't see how we get that.
Possibly have.
Yeah.
Well, like if the podcast, if I don't know, would it be Red 6 to Golden Corral if like Nick couldn't do it anymore?
Oh, if something like that were to happen, I don't think so. I think it, at this point, both Nick and myself are pretty core to making it. We weren't sure that we were going to be able to do it without John. I think that we are committed to pushing through. I don't know that we would have that commitment without the other one.
So you wouldn't want to do Red 6 anymore. You wouldn't want to podcast anymore.
Just not Red 6. I would find probably another outlet, another venue to do this with.
Stray dog.
Well, I have kind of a weird question because, I mean, at the beginning of this, it's like, okay, so let's say this does burst into a convention. What would you call it? Because, like, PAX is Penny Arcade Convention, PAX South, whatever. What would you call it?
Man, we'd have to come up with a good name, and that's just not something I do on the spot. I would leverage
even I would
Nick.
like the
Is
acronym
PodCon too generic?
RSTGC.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would want it to be so, like, podcasts would be a huge part of it and a major theme, but not part of the name. I would really want if we could do, like what Penny Arcade Expo did. That's fantastic. They are using their name to brand a video game expo, right? Like, it has very little to do with their
it has
comic.
nothing to do with webcomics.
Right.
Like, they do a webcomic there every year, but...
So that's what ideally
the
I would
pins
want.
and
I would
stuff,
want a
but-
great name that reflected our brand and just happened to be focused on podcasts.
Red Sixpo.
That sounds terrible.
It really does.
I'm just spitballing here.
Even like the anagram, like RS2GC.
Yeah.
It doesn't roll off the tongue like PAX or like.
Right. So I'd have to
Comic-Con.
figure something like that out. Yeah.
Golden Conral.
See, and that is part of the name that is the least attached to us. The Red 6 part
Red
is
6
the
is-
name.
yeah.
So
Lauren and Chuck, what would you guys do if Gutterner's disbanded? Or if I was like, not doing it anymore?
what would you do if Red
we're
6
out.
disbanded?
You would have to
What would you-
die.
Yeah, what would you do if Red 6 disbanded, and what would you do if Gutterner's disbanded?
If Red 6 disbanded, I would probably wither and die like a fish out of water.
You know what?
Holy
I would
shit.
come to be with your wives so we could all podcast together.
Yeah.
Yo,
That'd be amazing.
Yo, that would be so shady. So much shade getting thrown on that one.
What would you do if I didn't run the shit anymore?
I'd take over.
You take the name.
I could honestly see that happen.
Yeah, I'd take right the fuck over. We're
For
talking.
me, like, the fact that, like, obviously the Angry Cuddles thing, like, blew up and, like,
blew up in the bad way, not
Yeah.
the good way.
Yeah, it detonated.
Be clear.
those who shall not be named fucked us over. Like, the fact that you were still willing to carry on, like, me, like, I'm a pussy. I'd have been like, oh, fuck this. Like, I'm done. But no, like, you wanted to continue. You wanted to fight for this. And so if you quit, it's like seeing your favorite celebrity couple die. It's like, well, there went all hope that I had for a podcast, or there went
R.I.P.
all
Chris Pratt and Anna Faris.
truth. But, like, for me, I couldn't listen to podcasts anymore. Like,
You wouldn't listen to
since
any podcast anymore.
I loved, like, Stitcher.
There's a lot of weight on
I
your
use
shoulders here.
Stitcher.
Holy shit! Yeah, no kidding.
I use Stitcher like crazy. And so, like, I'll listen to, like, lore and, like, I don't know if this is cool to do this, but, like, now I listen to so many podcasts because I'm on one.
Yeah.
And when
You know what to listen for.
I do. And for me, it's like, I kind of want to do my own, but if this one doesn't work, my hopes and dreams are dead, Steven. Like, true to the name.
No, I mean that means a
They
lot to
would
me.
die.
So Chuck would usurp the throne.
No, we're not talking like just a straight up usurpment. I mean like sleep lightly, because I may toss your ass out and take over anyway.
And Lauren, you would just
die.
go put yourself in a sock drawer and sleep for days.
Sure.
So I guess then my last question is going to be: do you think that podcasting in the way that we do it now is going to be the way that it's done 10 years from now? Like, is there anything that you see changing about either the way podcasts are delivered, the way podcasts are recorded, the way that testicles are massaged on podcasts. Is that
Hologram.
normal?
No, see, that's the thing.
Hologram.
I'm raising my
This
hand
one.
because I have an answer to this question. You are making this hand motion, and then you looked into the camera. That's my answer.
What do you do?
You're supposed to look him in the eye when you touch the balls.
That's the answer right there. The cameras, those are going to be what changes in 10 years. It's already changing. Like, we have a hybrid podcast where we do video and audio at the same time.
Yeah, and there are times where I question the shit out of that too.
Well, we're also tweaking the formula too, but how many other people do that?
Yeah, fuck the lighting.
So, no, I want the
Damn.
lighting from this plate. I want this.
This is
I need
perfect.
this.
We're going to have to start
Shit.
driving up here every Monday night now,
Fuck
aren't we?
Get out, Caleb.
Stop your editing.
I wasn't really editing anyway.
Just Diablo.
So, is there anything that you guys see like changing over the?
I would
in the
say
next 10 years?
holograms. Like, I know that sounds stupid, but like,
It sounds
Hologram?
a little goofy to me.
okay, so like,
Holograms?
obviously we see everything on video, but I truly believe like in the next 10 to 20 years at least, we're gonna end up getting holograms. So like for our gaming podcast, I could totally see like, so you guys are going to be the focus while you guys are talking, and Chuck and I are going to be over here playing like a virtual Pong on the table, and then I'll switch over to you guys. And so it would be like that.
So 2 people are going to be engaged in actual topics for podcasts, and the other 2 are going to be fucking off playing virtual Pong.
We do that anyway.
No, we don't. Just because Sam shows up and starts playing Diablo 3 just off camera, and we're all just like,
Oh yeah, we don't have that shit anymore.
no, we do not.
We actually
I'll
have a
just-
closed space.
I'm just going to start staring at Sarah awkwardly and longingly, just
we need
Awkwardly
to be
and
distracted by
longingly.
something I can't focus on this podcast for an hour. What about you, Caleb? You have a lot of insight usually. Step up to the plate.
Usually,
he's sober.
here.
I just took a sip. I'm fine. Yeah, I think that the audio podcast is definitely a format to stick around. There are spheres of kind of how people consume, and the audio one is one that can be done at work or driving. And until we
Right.
get like the automated driving, that sphere is still going to be consumed voraciously.
Okay, so audio only is still
It's still going to live.
Important
Yeah,
until-
it'll be important. I do think the video and whatever the next step of video is could be holograms.
You're stuck on that now,
I
aren't you?
am.
I do think that will be a different. Affect a different sphere. That's the one where you get to actively engage in it. The one where you're not passively engaged, because that one, those two are separate things, and those can both live. There's obviously models for both living right now, and I don't see those going away anytime soon. If anything, they're going to get stronger, because the ease of entry for these things, just
Right.
like
Oh, yeah.
YouTube, is just so much.
all you got to do is decide to do it. Essentially,
Right.
It's a little bit more than just deciding to do it nowadays.
for sure. But I mean, anybody with like a snowball or Yeti, a $50
You
microphone.
know,
can sit there
you
and do it.
say that, but that's only because we put a bar somewhere, right? There are podcasts below that bar.
There, yeah.
I had one.
I'm not going to lie. Like, Dr. Peter Pena, he's still into it, but I'm like slacking as a producer. I bought him a microphone.
Yeah.
And he was like, I want to do Southern lore because Texas and whatnot.
Sure, lots of
And
great
so
stories.
he was like, I want to do Southern. So he's decided from Texas to Florida.
That
and
means
only that portion of Southern. And then we've read books, we've done this, we've done that. And so I did. The first thing I did was buy him a microphone. I asked you about the editing software and
Yeah.
stuff. No. He wants to do like a 2-hour podcast. And I'm like,
Jesus.
Wow.
that's like 16 hours of my time. And I'm on a Surface. So granted, I have like a mouse.
Right.
But Jesus Christ.
Do you think it'll podcasts are largely free? Do you think that will change, or do you think that
No, I don't see that changing. I think if you ever tried to kind of monetize the outside of podcasts, they just disappear. there's so much content that you can consume from everywhere. You know, why would you compete there?
I would draw a line between monetizing and commoditizing because
Yeah.
many people have made a living monetizing their podcasts and they still started free, but trying to make it so that the only way that you can get in is you
Right.
need some sort of corporate sponsor or something like that.
Right.
That's going to set that bar way too high. Nobody's going to get interested in it anymore. And it's just going to be, the entry fee is just too high at that point.
And that's what I mean by monetizing the outside. You know,
Okay.
you know, if your barrier to entry to get into podcasting is money, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So your barrier to entry has to be free. It has to be, I want to check these guys out, and if I like them, I will support them. Monetization has to come from the content creators. It cannot come from something trying to govern or subscribe.
Right.
podcasts.
Theoretically, like these microphones on my phone,
They're getting a lot
are
better.
good enough.
Yeah.
To start, if you wanted to do it for no money. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, these devices are hundreds of dollars, but most people have them. I would think.
Right. Most
That's
people do
true.
have them. And, you know, to your point, we've gone to a local con for the last couple of years. Have been lucky enough to be on panels, and there is a group there that always come. They're kind of regulars to the panel community at this con. Who that's what they do. They record
Wow.
on an iPad or iPhone that's on the middle of the table, and that's what they do.
fucking
So
amazing.
I mean-
you can do that.
I hate to I hate to call myself out, but like maybe I'm too young to remember. But like when iTunes first came out and like Apple first started being a big thing, from what I remember, I could have sworn podcasts were having to be paid for. Like it wasn't a free thing. That it was.
No,
I had a few
always-
free podcasts.
Yeah. Okay.
The ones I think you're remembering are the ones that the content creators themselves had paywalls for, and that did exist. But those were like kind of the celebrities doing podcasts,
Yeah.
not the other
Right.
way around. And they had a pay, like technically the podcasts were still free.
So what you're saying is like some celebrities
Were doing a
were doing
paywall.
If you're
paywalls earlier.
if you're having to pay people to be on your show, then you're going to have the paywall so that you can kind of recoup some of that loss.
Right.
And I think that was their strategy and their market,
Which is perfectly fine.
it is perfectly fine, but it wasn't viable. They didn't
No.
last. The ones that were ending up doing the content creation, not as something that they could monetize, but as something that they
which
loved.
is
And
why
then-
we have you on for like once or twice a year because you're way too expensive for us.
absolutely
starting to be unable to afford the kelp.
You're getting too full of yourself, Caleb.
know.
I mean, truthfully, like if we didn't, pimp Chuck out, it wouldn't have happened. Like,
That's absolutely true. I'm the one that brings all the money to this table, all like 15 cents a week.
Your milkshake brings the boys to the yard.
The boy. My milkshake brings the boy to the yard.
Chuck and Lauren, obviously, thanks for joining me today. And Caleb, I appreciate you taking the time during the festivities to sit and chat with us about shit.
Always a pleasure.
You realize this is part of the festivities, right?
Well, I know.
and also,
Like, here's-
this is his room.
Here, like the ultimate question in doing anything, in podcasts especially, because this is all a labor of love, is how much do you love it? Do you love it so much that you're willing to shell out the kind of time and energy and money necessary to set up some really bomb-ass place like this? Or do you have the time and energy and just the sheer balls to get your phone, put it in the middle, hit the record button, and just talk into it?
Right. Being like, and there have been plenty of times where I've created content either on the podcast or the YouTube video that I made actually sort of for you guys,
Yes.
where I like did the thing and I was like, that's crap. I hate it and I'm not even going to put it up.
Which
and
is
then
gonna
I sat
happen.
and I was like, don't be a nutsack, grow a vag, put it up there, like, and I'm glad that I did because like it ended up working out better than I thought it was going to work out. But that's the thing. So if you guys are looking to get into podcasting, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the technical stuff. Don't worry about the best microphone.
figure it out in
Just-
time.
We every year or so we get new like equipment and upgrade, and
Yeah.
we add as we go and we learn as we go. So
And I just want to add something very small to that. If you listen from the first episode of any podcast, and the more I listen to them, the more I notice. After episode 5, usually like formatting is a little different or something, they realize, hey, I need to fucking change this because it's awful.
right.
Well, yeah.
and
So-
you will not get it right the first time.
No,
And
absolutely
you
not.
Just have to be okay with not getting it right the first time and moving forward. And we have sort of an unofficial motto for the podcast. Do you remember what it is?
Sucking is the first step to not sucking?
No, that's not bad. that's not bad. It's next episode will be better.
Next episode will be better.
Next episode will be better every time, no matter how good it was. Next episode will be better. Like
I think
the
that's
plan.
why I haven't finished the first episode.
Uh,
It's 2 hours long.
You guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. If you haven't yet, feel free to follow and subscribe to our channel on Twitch, on YouTube, and follow Gutter Nerds wherever we are on social media: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram.
Follow fucking Red 6 too.
Where is Red 6? Yeah, where do we get your shit?
Yeah, you can
All the
follow
shit.
us on Twitter at red6TOGC. You can go to our website, www.red6togoldencorral.com. That's all spelled out. And you can find us on any of the podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google. You know, we subscribe to them all.
Fantastic. Okay, so the last thing that we do on the podcast before we go is we go to the can. That's the Gutter Nerds fan can. If you guys want to ask us any question you want, you can tweet us at Gutter Nerds using the hashtag FanCan, or if you see us at any events, you can add the question in. Lauren is drawing from the fan can. What do we got?
I'm going to let Caleb read it. It is a riddle.
Oh, all right.
Oh, fantastic.
I can't read.
Put him on the spot, Lo.
Oh, shit.
Okay. Take off my skin. I won't cry, but you will. What am I?
Got
What
it.
This is.
I got it.
Steven, you don't know. So
I know what
you
it
first.
is.
What is it?
A 6-month-old infant.
I think
No.
I cried too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not-
I think
not
you're
for
both.
long.
I think you're both in for a bit of a traumatic event.
No, not for long. What do you guys
I mean,
got?
you could put it in a blender, I guess.
I'm going to get the fuck out of this podcast. Fuck it, I'm out.
That's their shtick.
Yeah,
Do you guys have an actual riddle answer?
Yes.
Is it,
yeah.
is it
It's obvious. Yeah. If Donkey
doesn't know.
were to say something about Shrek, he might
cakes?
tell him he's like
Close.
a
It's a
cake.
cake.
Close.
Layers.
There's layers. There's
Like a cake.
Onions have layers. Ogres have layers.
They stink? Yes. No.
They grow hair.
All right, guys, next week we're going to be talking about heist games.
Woo!
I believe. So we're
Oh,
going to get
so
into
happy.
some GTA Online, some Payday 2, and we're going to talk about what works and what doesn't in those games and why we want to see more heist games. Here's a spoiler, because they're fucking fun. So, my name is Steven.
My name is Chuck.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Caleb from
Hi,
Red 6 Golden
Caleb.
Corral.
Red 6.
Get you a better plug in there.
Yeah,
Like a
I
real-
talked right over it. I'm sorry.
Real red.
This is Red 6.
No, I don't think I will.
Okay. And my name is Steven. We'll see.
We're just going to make the round again?
I swear I'm not
Do it
drunk
live.
yet.
Are you sure?
You know what? Just do it again. Do it all again.
Bye, guys.
This one.
Oh, girl.
Back just for a second, Caleb, so I can hit the go button right there. Almost. I'm so close.
You're not close.
I know.
I know close.
You're not close.
Took you long enough.
No, I mean I got it. It just sort of became funnier as I thought about it.